Hello. I'd like to introduce you to another book by Lorna Dare. Lorna has written several other books. One is Eagle Scout to Killer, the story of a naive young farm boy from a small town in Indiana, gets drafted, ends up in Vietnam, ends up doing a lot of killing, spends the rest of his life suffering from PTSD. If you know anybody that's come back from war and they act silly and do stupid things, maybe if you read this book you'll better understand that. She has also written the book Surviving a Hostile City. This is an instruction book for possible disasters coming, whether it's financial, whatever, whether it's natural causes, man-made. What you don't want to be is a victim, and that can come quickly. So this is a book with 20 chapters of 20 different things that you and your family need to be considering, to be aware of, to store food, things you need to survive, so again you won't be a victim during a disaster. Another book she wrote was Surviving Violence in a Hostile City. Same preface, you're in a disaster. Unfortunately everybody thinks, well, that's okay, but the criminal elements out there and the gangs and whatever, but it won't affect me. I live in a nice neighborhood and all of our families, and we'll all stick together. Well, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's probably not going to happen. When you run out of food, people start starving, you'll be surprised how quickly your neighbors will turn violent and do whatever it takes to survive. Remember, the most dangerous animal in the world is a mother of starving children. She'll do anything to protect those children. So, need to be prepared. Read this book. Don't be a victim when it comes to the violence involved in a disaster. Now we're going to talk about this book. CIA's Gulf of Tonkin Secrets. It's a war story, Vietnam War story. Right off the bat, I guess you need to know the difference between a war story and a fairy tale. A fairy tale starts out once upon a time. War stories, they start out, no shit, there he was. That's about the only difference. From there on, they're about the same. Well, this book took Lorna the most part of 4 years to gather the material. Interviewed lots and lots of Vietnam combat veterans. A lot of research to put this book together. And although it's put together as a story about a man and his adventures during Vietnam, it's not really. It's really about a conglomeration. It's not one man, it's the story of all the combat veterans that she interviewed and talked to, made into this one Vietnam veteran. But it represents what all combat veterans went through. But this book especially is about clandestine operations during Vietnam. The CIA, different operations that the soldiers were asked to do during Vietnam. The reason it's an interesting book is you need to read it to find out, one, the truth of some of the things that happened over there and why they happened. But you need to look at it in the eyes of these soldiers. They'll need to make a decision. Were they war heroes, saving people's life, protecting their country? Or will some of you think they're war criminals for the things they did? Not particularly what they did to good people or anything, but as far as disobeying the rules of combat as most people see them, or that was put out by the military. Doing what was best for them, their teammates, the civilians, and doing what right in the military and war isn't necessarily what you think of as right on a moral basis. So that's what the book's about. You need to read this book and read about the operations. And then ask yourself, what would you have done? Would you have completed the mission? Which might mean risking your life, giving up your reputation, maybe being court-martialed in the military, ridiculed, or with the overriding facts that you're going to save lives and help people. Would you be willing to take that risk? So read about what these poor soldiers had to do. Like I said, this book is a conglomeration of all the soldiers she talked to and put it together as one story so that you can see how it all weaves together for them and how they've been suffering with PTSD since they came home. And they probably will struggle till their death as to their self, whether they was war heroes or war criminals. So anyway, read this book, see what you think, see what you would have done under the same circumstances. Think about that.